There comes a time in a man's life when he must decide if he will serve money or master it. And that decision, while often buried beneath years of habit, fear, and emotional chaos, is the dividing line between a man who lives by reaction and one who lives by design. Most men believe they need more money, but what they truly need is more command. For wealth, in its purest form, is not a product of luck, chance, or inheritance. It is the result of inner alignment, a mirror of your discipline, a byproduct of the standards you uphold in silence. And until a man learns to govern his inner world, his thoughts, emotions, and habits, he will forever remain enslaved by the outer one. Money, my friend, is not the cause. It is the effect. And that effect is dictated, without fail, by 20 universal, unyielding laws, 20 life-changing money lessons known only to the few who dare to master themselves first. Lesson 1. Money is a mindset, not a material. Until you learn to think differently, you will never live differently. A man who thinks in terms of limitation, of scarcity, of fear, cannot hold wealth, for he has not prepared a place for it to stay. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are. And if you are chaotic in mind, reactive in spirit, or dependent on circumstances, you will repel the very opportunities you claim to seek. You must stop asking for more and start preparing to hold more. The universe does not deliver based on desperation. It delivers based on readiness. And readiness is a mindset of detachment, the art of needing nothing while attracting everything. Lesson 2. Emotion is the enemy of wealth. If you allow your feelings to dictate your behavior, your savings will vanish, your focus will drift, and your vision will rot in the shadow of impulse. Understand this. Impulse is expensive. The emotionally reactive man spends because he feels bored, not because he sees value. He quits because he feels discouraged, not because the work is wrong. He changes paths not because his purpose shifted, but because his pride was wounded. Emotionally reactive men are ruled by temporary states, and temporary states lead to temporary wealth at best. But the disciplined man, the emotionally detached man, he builds wealth not on feelings, but on principles. He invests when it's hard. He endures when it's dry. He saves when it's easy to spend. And he walks forward when others flinch. Because he knows calmness creates clarity. And clarity is where true decisions are made. Lesson 3. Mental discipline builds financial discipline. A man cannot spend his time carelessly and expect his bank account to reflect precision. How you handle your mind is how you handle your money. If you procrastinate on your goals, you'll procrastinate on your financial planning. If you indulge in emotional chaos, you'll indulge in impulse purchases. If your calendar is reactive, so will be your cash flow. Train your mind to obey and your money will follow. Discipline begins not with budgets, but with thought. Not with spreadsheets, but with silence. A calm mind is the first step toward a powerful income. Lesson 4. Money responds to clarity. Vague goals produce vague results, and vague results rarely lead to wealth. You must define with absolute precision what you want and why. Write it, rehearse it, burn it into the walls of your consciousness. A man with no definite purpose cannot command the energy of wealth, for he is unstable, and wealth, like power, flows only to the stable. Say clearly, I will earn this much by this time, through this method, by becoming this kind of man. Then act accordingly daily. Lesson 5. Detachment is power. If you chase money, it runs. If you fear money, it dominates you. If you become emotionally attached to outcomes, you sabotage your strategy. True power comes not from needing money, but from understanding that you are the source of it. And because you are the source, you are never truly in lack unless you believe yourself to be. Detachment allows you to negotiate better, to wait patiently, to act with strategy, not desperation. It is the mark of a man who understands this great paradox. The less you need money, the more it flows to you. Lesson 6. Personal initiative is the gatekeeper of wealth. The man who waits to be told what to do will always be paid by the man who commands himself. If you do not take initiative in thought, in learning, in strategy, in self-correction, you will always serve another's vision. No one is coming to rescue you. No one is coming to push you. No one is coming to fund your laziness. The most successful men do not wait to feel inspired. They act from inner law, not outer mood. Train yourself to begin, especially when you don't feel like it. Leçon sept. Your language creates your income. Words are not just descriptions, they are declarations, and the man who speaks of struggle speaks it into permanence. Stop saying, I can't afford it. Start asking, how can I create the value to afford it? Stop saying, I never have enough. Start training your brain to say, I am learning to command more. Every sentence you repeat is a command to the subconscious, and the subconscious always obeys. If you speak from poverty, you will live in it. If you speak from vision, you will walk toward it. Leçon 8. Wealth demands solitude. Noise is the currency of the poor. Distraction is the drug of the average. The wealthy do not think in crowded spaces. They retreat, they plan, they write, they analyze. You must create room for silence, not as luxury, but as strategy. For in silence, the mind recalibrates. In silence, clarity is born. In silence, vision matures. If you cannot sit with yourself, you cannot sit with wealth. Lesson 9. Every dollar you spend is a vote for the man you're becoming. Money is not just a medium of exchange. It is a measure of belief, a reflection of your priorities, a mirror of your inner standard. When you spend impulsively, you reveal a lack of discipline. When you spend to impress, you reveal insecurity. When you spend out of boredom, you reveal chaos. But when you spend with foresight, when your purchases are aligned with purpose, you are no longer wasting money. You are investing in identity. Ask yourself, each time your hand reaches for your wallet, is this purchase a reflection of my highest self or my weakest craving? The man who honors this question becomes rich in more than dollars. He becomes rich in principle. Lesson 10. Money is attracted to structure and repelled by chaos. A chaotic man may stumble upon riches, but he will never keep them, because the structure that wealth requires is not external, it is internal. Order in your thinking creates order in your behavior. Order in your behavior creates reliability, and reliability creates wealth. This means your calendar, your workspace, your morning routine, your language, your inner dialogue, all must be governed by structure, not rigidity. But intelligent, living rhythm, structure gives money a place to stay. Chaos drives it away. Lesson 11. You cannot out-earn a poor self-image. If you see yourself as small, unworthy, or merely surviving, you will subconsciously sabotage every financial breakthrough that exceeds that identity. A man who believes he is worth $50,000 a year will find a way, consciously or not, to lose or limit anything above that level. Raise your identity, and your income will chase to match it. How? By building character, by keeping promises to yourself, by speaking power into your inner mirror. This is not arrogance. This is inner leadership. No man can command wealth on the outside who has not first commanded worth on the inside. Lesson 12. Accurate thinking is the compass of financial independence. The average man thinks he is thinking. In truth, he is remembering and reacting. He repeats what he hears, follows what he feels, and believes what he fears. But accurate thinking is different. It is the disciplined separation of fact from opinion. It is the refusal to accept emotional thinking as truth. It is the process of asking, what do I know and how do I know it? Wealth is not emotional, it is structural. It rewards those who deal in reality, not fantasy. If you think with accuracy, you will spend with precision, invest with intelligence, and plan with clarity. That is what separates the financially free from the financially frantic. Lesson 13. The world will test you to see if you're serious. Every man who seeks to grow in wealth will be tested not by the market, not by competition, but by his own patterns. You will be given opportunities to abandon your standards, to chase temporary gain, to violate your principles for quick rewards. And when that test comes, remember, the way you handle $10 determines if you're ready for $10,000. The way you handle stress when no one is watching determines if you're ready for leadership when all eyes are on you. Money is not earned. It is entrusted. You must become trustworthy first to yourself. Lesson 14. The rich think in decades, the poor think in days. Short-term thinking is the most expensive habit in the world. It leads to poor trades, weak deals, and emotional panic. But when you think in decades, you act with calmness. You delay gratification. You choose long-term character over short-term applause. Think long enough, and the world will come running to follow your vision. Leson cincis prezice. If you can't control your time, you can't control your money. Time is the most valuable asset. But unlike money, you cannot save it. You can only direct it. And how you direct your time reveals your true values, not your stated ones. If you say you value wealth but spend 4 hours a day consuming distractions, then your true value is comfort, not wealth. Track your time like you track your spending. If you cannot account for your minutes, do not be surprised when your bank account echoes your confusion. Lesson 16. Money will expose you, not change you. A man does not become wise when he becomes wealthy. He becomes visible. Money amplifies character. It magnifies discipline. It brings your values out into the open. If you are undisciplined with little, you will be chaotic with much. If you are reactive now, you will be reckless later. If you are generous in secret, you will be a force of good in abundance. The question is not, what would I do if I had more money? The question is, am I someone who can be trusted with it? Lesson 17. You're either paying interest or earning it. Debt is slavery in disguise. And while there are strategic forms of debt, most men do not use debt, they are used by it. When you owe what you cannot control, you forfeit your sovereignty. Do not envy the man who looks wealthy but is buried in payments. Be the man who owns more than he owes, who grows what he keeps, who builds silently while others consume loudly. Freedom begins the moment you say, no more borrowing to impress people I don't respect. Lesson 18. Environments shape financial behavior. Your habits are not just personal, they are environmental. You cannot expect to build wealth in an environment of waste. You cannot maintain discipline surrounded by indulgence. You cannot sharpen your mindset in a sea of distraction. Control your inputs. Audit your friends. Design your space. Clean your room. Silence your phone. Surround yourself with those who talk ideas, not gossip strategy, not problems. The man who controls his environment controls his evolution. Lesson 19. Scarcity is a virus, and it's contagious. Be wary of the poor in spirit, those who speak only of fear, who resent the successful, who warn you not to try too hard. Their voices may be soft, but their energy is toxic. Scarcity is not humility. It is a mental disease that spreads by agreement. And if you let it in, it will rot your ambition from the inside out. Associate with those who speak of possibilities. Study those who have built. Learn from those who act. Reject the idea that there's not enough. There is enough, but only for those willing to become more. Lesson 20. Wealth is not the goal self, mastery is. Let this be the final and supreme lesson. You do not pursue money, you pursue mastery, and from mastery, money flows. Because the man who controls his thoughts, governs his emotions, and directs his habits, he becomes a magnet for wealth, respect, and influence. Why? Because he is rare, because he is trustworthy, because he is free. And the world, more than ever, needs men who are free, not just financially, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Push yourself not to impress the world, but to master the self. Then, and only then, will the world respond with reward, not because it owes you, but because you have earned it. Let no man deceive you. Wealth, like all enduring greatness, is not found in books alone, nor in theories, nor in wishful thinking. It is forged through decisions made in silence, and it is guarded by principles that cannot be violated without consequence. If you were to lose every dollar tomorrow, what would remain? If your reputation were stripped away, if your comforts dissolved, if your applause fell silent, what would you still possess? A man's true wealth begins not in his bank account, but in his ability to lead himself. That is the first vault. That is the real treasure. Because until you master you, no amount of money will make you powerful. Money in the hands of the undisciplined is a loaded weapon in the hands of a child. Money in the hands of the reactive man is a drug. It feeds his weakness, amplifies his impulses, exposes his lack of clarity. But money in the hands of the self-governing man, the man who has walked through the fires of emotional detachment, the man who has stood alone in moments of temptation and won the battle over himself, that man is dangerous in the highest and most honorable sense of the word. For he cannot be bought, he cannot be baited, he does not chase what he can command. And so we begin the deeper path, the expanded understanding of each of the 20 sacred laws that govern financial destiny, not for the casual dreamer, but for the serious student of wealth. You are not here for comfort, you are here for clarity. You are not here for inspiration, you are here for transformation. You are not here to wish, you are here to decide. Let us begin with a full embodiment of Lesson 1. Money is a mindset, not a material. You have been taught that money is outside of you, that it exists in jobs or opportunities or connections, that it is something to be found, pursued, or inherited. That is a lie. Money begins and ends in the mind. It is not the paper you see. It is the behavior you repeat. It is the standard you enforce. It is the vibration you operate from, the certainty with which you speak, and the way you carry yourself when no one is watching. If you believe money is scarce, you will live in scarcity even if you win the lottery. If you believe wealth belongs only to the lucky, you will curse the rich while you quietly sabotage your own rise. If you believe that you were not meant for money, you will subconsciously block every door that leads to it through hesitation, through fear, through disorganization, and emotional leaks. But if you believe deeply, firmly, unquestionably that you were made to create, manage, multiply, and govern wealth, then your mind begins to prepare for it. And when the mind is prepared, the world responds. Because the world does not give money to the man who wants it most. It gives money to the man who is most ready to receive and command it. So stop asking, how do I get more? And begin asking, how do I become more? Raise your identity and your income will follow. Now we expand into Lesson 2. Emotion is the enemy of wealth. Wealth building is not a sprint. It is not a lottery ticket. It is not a single lucky break. It is a strategy executed with emotional consistency over time. The average man never becomes wealthy, not because he lacks intelligence, but because he lacks emotional resilience. He invests, then panics. He saves, then splurges. He sets a budget, then breaks it the moment he feels low. He builds momentum, then destroys it with one emotional decision. Because he is not governed by vision, he is ruled by mood. And let me say this plainly. If your emotions govern your actions, your financial future will always be unstable. The man who builds wealth is not emotionless. He is emotionally trained. He feels fear and proceeds anyway. He feels doubt but returns to his principles. He feels temptation and still honors his commitments. He does not fight emotion. He observes it. He does not suppress it. He transcends it because he knows every dollar lost to emotion is a dollar stolen from his destiny. And destiny is too expensive to fund with weakness. You must become the kind of man who can hold pressure, not escape it. The kind of man who can delay pleasure, not chase it. The kind of man who moves from principle, not from panic. Because wealth is not just numbers, it is the emotional stability behind the numbers. Let us now go deeper into Lesson 3. Mental discipline builds financial discipline. If you cannot master your mornings, you will never master your money. If you cannot focus for 1 hour without distraction, how will you ever structure a vision that lasts a decade? Discipline is not a harsh word. It is a liberating one. It is the realization that success is not random. It is structured, and that structure begins in the mind. Train yourself to follow through, not when you feel like it, but until it is done. Discipline is not about doing more. It is about doing precisely what matters on command, without complaint. Your money does not obey your hope. It obeys your patterns. And your patterns are created by your thinking. Think clearly, act precisely, and you will create financial structures that outlast emotion, environment, and even economy. Now let us rise into Lesson 4. Money responds to clarity. The man who says, "I want more money," will never be rich because his command is unclear. The subconscious mind, which governs 95% of your actions, cannot execute vague instructions. You must define with ruthless precision how much you want, by when, for what purpose, through what method, with what standard of character. When clarity enters the mind, power enters the body. You wake up with a reason. You refuse distractions. You hold the line, because the man who knows exactly what he's building will not be seduced by the cheap comforts that destroy others. He will say no, not because he is disciplined, but because he is decided. And once you decide who you are, what you want, and what price you are willing to pay, the universe begins clearing the path, not because it favors you, but because you are finally walking with intelligent force. Lesson Fem. Detachment is power. You have been told to hustle harder, to chase opportunity, to pursue wealth. But understand this: what you chase flees. What you need controls you, and what you fear to lose owns you. True wealth is not in how much you hold, it is in how little you cling. And the man who walks with financial detachment does not move with desperation, he moves with dominance. Detachment does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop needing. It means you approach your financial decisions not from the weakness of lack, but from the strength of vision. It means that when a deal arises, you are not shaken by the fear of missing out because you know that you are the opportunity. You are not attached to the outcome. You are loyal only to the standard. This detachment gives you leverage in every negotiation. It gives you patience when others rush. It gives you calm when others crumble. It gives you consistency, and consistency is the soil in which wealth takes root. The man who is emotionally attached to the next paycheck, the next client, the next promise, he will always trade his integrity for a little security. He will always undercut his value to protect his ego. And he will always lose power quietly, slowly, tragically, until he is little more than a reaction to his own fears. But the detached man is different. He can walk away. He can say no. He can wait. He can listen. He can move when it is wise, and sit still when it is not, because he does not serve money. He commands it. You cannot command what you are emotionally attached to. You can only beg for it. And so, to build true financial strength, you must sever the psychological chains that link your self-worth to your bank balance. You are not your net worth. You are not your income level. You are not your financial wins or losses. You are the consciousness that governs all of them if you choose to be. Detachment is not about having less. It is about being more than what you have. Only when you are free from the need for money will you begin to attract, manage, and multiply it not through force, but through the gravity of your presence. That is true power. Let us now walk into Lesson 6. Personal initiative is the gatekeeper of wealth. If you do not act, you are not entitled to results. If you do not move, the universe does not respond. If you wait for permission, for certainty, for applause, you will become irrelevant. Wealth does not belong to the man who is qualified. It belongs to the man who moves first. Personal initiative is the difference between ideas and income, between dreams and dividends, between potential and power. It is the internal engine that says, I do not wait, I do not ask, I do not delay. I decide and I deliver. Show me a man who takes initiative, and I will show you a man who gets paid more, respected more, trusted more, and followed more, not because of charisma, but because of responsibility. And responsibility is the birthplace of reward. You must stop waiting to feel ready. Ready is an illusion. Ready is the language of cowards. Move when it's uncertain. Speak when your voice shakes. Act before you're affirmed. Because those who move first build first, and those who build own. Initiative is rare. That's why it is valuable. Beirare. Now we arrive at Lesson 7. Your language creates your income. Every word you speak is a prophecy. Every sentence is a seed. And your life, financial and otherwise, is the harvest of your habitual vocabulary. The poor speak in limitation. The middle class speak in comfort. The wealthy speak in precision. The way you talk about money reveals how you think about money. And how you think determines how you act. And how you act determines what you earn. Let us examine the speech of poverty. I can't afford that. It's too expensive. Money doesn't grow on trees. People like me don't get rich. Now observe the speech of power. How can I generate that amount? What skill can I master to increase my value? What systems can I build to make that sustainable? What habits must I create to become the man who earns that easily? Do you see the difference? The first language closes doors. The second language opens them. Your words are not just sound, they are mental commands to your subconscious, and your subconscious never disobeys. If you speak scarcity, you will find it everywhere. If you speak abundance, your mind will begin to search for the paths that lead to it. And your subconscious will not stop searching until your actions match your declarations. So speak wisely. Speak as a master. Speak as the architect of your financial reality, not as a passive narrator of your limitations. You are not your circumstances. You are the command center. And it begins with what you say, especially to yourself. Now, let us ascend into Lesson 8. Wealth demands solitude. Noise is the new poverty. It distracts, it deceives, it dulls the edge of your focus until your vision bleeds out in fragments of irrelevant data. You scroll and call it research. You react and call it urgency. You respond to everything and wonder why nothing responds to you. But wealth, true wealth, is not found in noise, it is found in solitude. It is in the hour you sit with your thoughts, uninterrupted. It is in the notebook you fill with ideas, not replies. It is in the strategy you form when the notifications are off. Every fortune begins in silence. The silence where the mind sharpens, where the plan forms, where the spirit clarifies. You do not need more information. You need more integration. And integration happens when the world is quiet and the self is finally heard. Create sacred space for that silence. Defend it like your financial future depends on it, because it does. You will not find your next level in the noise of the crowd. You will find it in the stillness where your own voice becomes unmistakable. And when you emerge from that solitude with vision, with plan, with unshakable inner command, the world will feel it before you say a word. That is the weight of self-governed silence. You must understand this now and never forget it. Every dollar you move, every decision you make, every standard you keep or lower is shaping not only your financial life, but your future self. You are not merely managing money, you are sculpting the man who will carry it. And if that man is undisciplined, reactive, or driven by the applause of the world, he will collapse the moment the weight of true wealth is laid upon him. But if he is forged in solitude, carved by principle, and raised on the foundation of detachment and discipline, then no crisis can ruin him. He will not lose, even if he must start over. For it was never the money, it was always the man. Everything you buy is a declaration of identity. Every time you trade your wealth for comfort, you vote against your future. Every time you invest with patience, you cast a vote for legacy. Every expense echoes with the sound of your standards. Do you spend like a man building an empire, or like a man soothing his insecurities? Do you delay gratification like a sovereign, or do you beg for pleasure like a child? Your balance sheet is not just a record, it is a mirror. If you want it to look different, then you must become different. There is no financial breakthrough without inner structure. You cannot fix income with luck. You cannot fix debt with hope. You cannot fix spending with shame. You must fix thinking. You must fix focus. You must fix the broken rituals that leak energy, clarity, and wealth. Wealth is mathematical, yes, but it is also spiritual. You must become a man whose presence is more valuable than his possessions. You must carry wealth before it arrives in posture, in poise, in precision. You must speak it without arrogance and build it without noise. Do not think you can cheat these laws. The world may not see your financial life, but your subconscious does. It records every compromise. It remembers every broken promise. And it will never let you feel worthy of wealth until you have earned your own respect. That is the price. That is the law. That is why no shortcut lasts. Because the man who takes shortcuts skips the one thing that can never be skipped: identity. There is no such thing as financially stuck. There is only mentally scattered, emotionally exhausted, spiritually out of alignment. Fix those things, and money begins to move. Fix the morning. Fix the calendar. Fix the conversations you allow and the decisions you delay. Fix the distractions you protect and the excuses you polish. Fix the way you breathe, sit, think, act, because that is what creates wealth. Not more work, not more hustle, but more control. And control begins with time. Time is the great revealer of discipline. You cannot lie to it. You can only waste it or command it. And your money will always match how you treat your time. If you waste hours, you will waste income. If you defend your schedule, your income will begin to defend you. If you say yes to every distraction, you are already saying no to your freedom. But if you learn to say no powerfully, clearly, without guilt, then you are no longer reacting to life. You are designing it. Design your days like a man who values results more than feelings. Speak to your calendar as if your future depends on it, because it does. You do not need more ideas. You need fewer delays. You need execution. You need non-negotiables. And those begin not with a planner, but with a vow. A vow to stop waiting to feel like it. A vow to stop depending on motivation. A vow to stop lying to yourself that you can start next week. Next week is how the broke live. Next week is the language of regret. If you want to build something that lasts, you must act now and build the kind of mind that no longer needs to be pushed because it pulls. Let them say you're intense. Let them say you've changed. Let them say you're obsessed. All great men are. All free men are. All wealthy men, in spirit and in substance, must be. And what is wealth, really? It is not money. It is power under control. It is the calm behind the storm. It is clarity in a world of confusion. It is the ability to say no not just to things, but to versions of yourself that are no longer worthy of your time. It is when you rise without resistance. It is when you operate without explanation. It is when your word to yourself is stronger than any motivation. It is when you no longer feel the need to post, to prove, or to posture because your results speak louder than your voice ever could. It is silence backed by structure. It is detachment forged in fire. It is the mind governed by law. It is you trained, refined, and released. And when that man shows up, money does too, not as an idol, not as an escape, but as a servant, a tool, a weapon in the hand of one who has mastered his world within. So I will not tell you to wish for more. I will tell you to become more, to rise earlier, to study longer, to pause before reacting, to respond with intention, to train yourself to sit still when you want to quit, to say no when your ego wants to say yes, to move from principles, not pressure, from vision, not noise. And when you do, when the man you used to be falls away and the man you were meant to become begins to rise, you will no longer chase wealth. You will carry it, not just in your wallet, but in your walk, not just in your savings, but in your standards, not just in your strategy, but in your spirit. You will be wealth, not just habit. And that, my friend, is the only kind that cannot be taken. So push yourself now while others stall. Act now while others sleep. Build now while others scroll. Because in the end, it will not matter how much you knew. It will matter how precisely you acted on what you knew and how relentlessly you became the kind of man who made every dollar bow to the standard of his mind. There is no greater freedom than that, and no greater tragedy than to have known this truth and done nothing with it. So choose now. Push yourself now, because tomorrow is the reward of the man who acted today, and regret is the grave of the man who didn't.